كتب الله لنا هو مولانا وعلى الله فليتوكل المؤمنون.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على رسوله الأمين محمد المصطفى صلى الله عليه وسلم وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. All praises are due to Allah, the Lord of the worlds. May His peace and blessings be upon our leader Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, his household, companions, and all believers till the day of accountability. We beseech Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to count us among those He has favored and granted His bliss and felicity in this life and the life to come. You are most welcome, our honorable viewers, to another edition of engagement on the Islamic discourse. More importantly, our focus is on talking about those peculiarities of Islam, some peculiarities of Islam. And we are continuing on that peculiarity of knowledge. The fact that Islam, being the religion of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, elevates knowledge and elevates the knowledgeable ones, as Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has actually expressed in several verses that we have used to demonstrate that. In furtherance to that, talking about knowledge as part of the peculiarities of Islam is also to elucidate and explain to mankind that Islam, no matter your level of knowledge, no matter how gargantuous your level of knowledge is, how huge, you should also know that وَفَوْقَ كُلِّ ذِي عِلْمٍ عَلِيمٌ, above every knowledgeable one, there is a greater knowledgeable one. And the greatest of all knowledgeable persons is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And that's what Allah has said, وَمَا أُوتِيتُم مِّنَ الْعِلْمِ إِلَّا قَلِيلًا. You have not been granted of knowledge except a little of it. The knowledge of the entire human race could be likened, as it concerns the knowledge of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, could be likened to dipping a needle into the ocean and drawing it up again. The drops of water, or even that little water that is attached to that needle, compared to the ocean of knowledge of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that is the combination of the entire knowledge of human race from the beginning till the end of human race. That is the comparison, just a comparison to just, and because the knowledge of Allah is even far, far, far expansive than that. We cannot comprehend it. And that's why in Surah Luqman, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave us the similitude. Allah says, if the entire ocean of this world, the entire seas of this world, if they have been turned into ink and used as ink to write the words of Allah, ma nafidat kalimatullah, the words of Allah will never be exhausted. You continue to write. You continue to write, and the entire ocean becomes dry. The ink made out of the entire ocean becomes dry. And even if you come with, many a multitude supply of such ocean, you continue to write the words of Allah, and it will never end. That is a similitude that Allah is giving us, or setting as parable. So we should understand. Islam made us understand that the level of knowledge of humanity with that of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is nowhere to be found. And to support that also, the fact that Islam supports knowledge and elevates those with knowledge. Like we basically mentioned earlier, what transpired in the 14th to 15th century, talking about Renaissance, talking about the church, talking about scientists, and talking about the outcome of that. That outcome created that level of should I call it hatred. It brews some level of hatred. In fact, it brews some level of atheism among the Europeans. Because it got to a point that they cast disbelief upon religion. They cast disbelief even upon the existence of God. And some of them took to atheism because of that injustice they experienced from the church, because the church disregard knowledge and empiricism at that at that point in time. And we also want to demonstrate the fact that Islam supports knowledge, and that's why when you look at some example, there are several astronomers that have accepted Islam when they discover that the level at which Islam is communicating to the world. Let us look at a verse in the Quran like that of Surah Al-Waqi'ah, where you look at verses 75 to 76. Allah says, فَلَا أُقْسِمُ بِمَوَاقِعِ النُّجُومِ وَإِنَّهُ لَقَسَمٌ لَوْ تَعْلَمُونَ عَظِيمٌ. Allah says, فَلَا أُقْسِمُ بِمَوَاقِعِ النُّجُومِ. I swear by the stations of the stars. So these astronomers, scientists, start to ponder. The Quran talking about stations of stars. How come a book given to an unlettered prophet in the desert land of Arabia in the 6th century could be able to garner this knowledge and this understanding on reality that communicate or speaks to things that happen in the heavenly bodies, celestial body in space? Talking about the stations of the stars. At that instance, a lot of them accepted Islam. Allah says, وَإِنَّهُ لَقَسَمٌ لَوْ تَعْلَمُونَ عَظِيمٌ. This is obviously a clear declaration by Allah to swear, لَوْ تَعْلَمُونَ عَظِيمٌ. If you truly understand and know the greatness of what Allah is talking about. Surah Al-Waqi'ah. So, based on that, many of them, their eyes open to that Islam is talking at this level. Some of them were Christians, some of them were of other faiths and ideologies, and many of them accepted Islam. When you also look at the way Islam also speaks to knowledge, in Surah Al-An'am, verse 125, Allah says, فَمَنْ يُرِدِ اللَّهُ أَنْ يَهْدِيَهُ يَشْرَحْ صَدْرَهُ لِلْإِسْلَامِ. Whomever Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wishes to guide, Allah grants him what? Allah grants him guidance towards Islam. Allah opens his heart, his mind to accept Islam. وَمَنْ يُرِدِ اللَّهُ أَنْ يُضِلَّ يَجْعَلْ صَدْرَهُ ضَيِّقًا حَرَجًا كَأَنَّمَا يَصَّعَدُ فِي السَّمَاءِ. But whomever Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wishes to lead astray, يَجْعَلْ صَدْرَهُ ضَيِّقًا. He makes his heart hardened, narrowed. حَرَجًا كَأَنَّمَا يَصَّعَدُ فِي السَّمَاءِ. It feels, it feels troubled. The heart is narrowed, and it considers that difficulty to accept Islam.
كتب الله